Hey everybody. So I know I said that the second Faces of Death was going to be the last Faces of Death movie that I was going to discuss, but I received a couple more messages from people saying like, why don't you just round out the series? And I really don't want to do the third one because the third one has always sort of felt like leftovers to me. And then when they came out with the fourth part, I felt like, oh good, more leftovers. And then as it turns out, part four would go on to become my favorite of sorts. So I really, really dislike the third one, but at this rate, I'll probably end up doing it maybe, but it doesn't matter. Tonight, I am here discussing the very first Faces of Death. This was released back to some commercial success, considerable commercial success, about $35 million worth of commercial success back in 1978. This is hosted by Dr. Francis Gröss again. And yeah, this is just more of the same. If you know the Faces of Death movies, so you know exactly what you're in for. The things that I can say that I like about this movie are that, seeing as how this was the first one that I saw, this was the first one that I imagine most people saw, it does sort of have that Cannibal Holocaust vibe, which they had to be inspired by. This movie has to be inspired by Cannibal Holocaust, or at least the Italian cannibal films of the 70s, early 80s. Give or take, because I just can't escape the Cannibal Holocaust effect that's like seems to be written all over this movie. I just can't get away from that. So it feels like all of these movies are sort of, you know, they were given birth by the same set of cinematic parents, I suppose. Like the Faces of Death movies, like, they're just like the Mondo Canes. The Mondo Canes, of course, feel... Well, the Mondo Canes came first, but they feel like the cannibal films. These feel like the cannibal films. And so I like that because I do like the like cannibal movies that came out of the 70s, despite the amount of rape that turns up in a lot of them. That I don't love. But the other reason that I feel that this kind of has like a mid-key Cannibal Holocaust vibe is because there's such a focus in this one on animal killing. And I found that to happen a lot in Cannibal Holocaust too. It was almost like that movie was just made for the excuse of raping the chick at the end, and so that they could show a bunch of legit animal deaths in that movie. And that's what it kind of feels like here. It's almost like this movie's playing it too safe. Like, the concept of making this movie was too much for them or something. So they're like, okay, look, we'll back off. We'll show mostly seals go pup hunting and shit. You know, we'll show some jungle shots of piranhas eating a snake, which I don't even think happened. I think the piranha snake thing was faked in this. And it just seems like, I don't want to say that they played it too safe because this movie is gross. There are some things in this that, like, the stunt show accident at the end, that seemed fairly real, like where a bunch of people were killed. That looked real. The footage from the graveyard where apparently you had to pay graveyard rental fees. That was news to me. I had no idea that there was such a thing as a graveyard rental fee. So the people who couldn't afford to keep their loved ones buried there, their bodies were exhumed. And they were showing all the footage of all of like the heavily decomposed bodies from the coffins and whatnot. I had no idea that you had to pay graveyard rental fees in certain graveyards. Not a clue. The dog fighting, the two pit bulls going at it, I think that was real. Again, it's more animal killing, so it's like Faces of Death. It does fit, but it just feels like this movie is trying too hard, like, to succeed through hype. Like, this has been banned in 80 countries or whatever, and it's like, yeah, but why? It's a lot of vicious shots of animals wiping each other out and shots in the morgue. Again, these movies love the morgue. And including the opening shot of the surgery. That first shot of the patient's view was clearly faked. And then when you see the actual footage of, like, you know, the autopsy, you see the heart, not the autopsy, sorry, the surgery, and you see the heart pumping. And then you hear the beep, beep, beep. And then they freeze the heart, the shot of the heart. And then it flatlines because, you know, Faces of Death. And it's like, that's just dumb. That's just dumb. Like, I mean, don't freeze the heart. At least have it fade out or something. Because when you freeze the footage, everybody knows the heart's still beating. I don't know. Dr. B. Gröss comes in at the start because he was supposed to be one of the doctors operating on the fake heart thing where it flatlines. And he comes out and he takes the robe and the gloves off. And then he goes into his little, like, patient area and he pretends to wash his hands. Now look, if you're going to be playing, Michael Carr, of course, is better known for his parts in various westerns from way back when. But if you are going to be playing the part of a doctor, don't just wet your hands, okay? No doctor in the world would just wet their hands. That's just not something that doctors would do, is it? So he comes in, he does this, he dries them off, and then he turns around and his glasses are crooked. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I watching here? Like, I was obsessed with this when I was a kid. As a matter of fact, back when I was a kid, I felt like a total, like, movie criminal watching this. Like, I had to, like, skulk around. Me and my friends were like, okay, whose house can we take this back to? It's like the episode of Degrassi Junior High where Yick and Arthur get swamp sex robots and they have to find a way back to Arthur's house, but that's the night that Steph was supposed to have sex with Wheels, and that has nothing to do with this. But that was how I felt. I felt like, oh, yo, we got the Faces of Death. Quick, whose house are we? Who's got the VCR that isn't broken? Whose VCR doesn't need to be repaired right now? We can get into their house and we can see this traumatizing shit. I mean, there's so many things about this. That assassination of the guy giving the speech, that was horse shit. That was pure fiction. And then to sort of add insult to the fake injury of the assassination, they then have an interview with the assassin himself. And I'm like, I don't remember that from like watching it back when I was a kid, but I must have thought it was cool because I would have been like 11 or whatever. I would have been like, yeah, they're talking to a real hitman. No, they're not. That was bullshit. It's complete nonsense. What else was there? Oh, yeah, the guy going spelunking. The cave accident, that was fake too. I don't know too many people that go spelunking with zero gear, wearing tight-fitting clothing like that don't look very comfortable to be in. Because I understand the idea of wearing tight-fitting clothing when you're caving, because I've done it. You don't want to wear baggy clothing because you don't want that shit to get caught somewhere. But the guy was wearing like work clothes and shit. Like, oh yeah, that's comfortable. You know, he's got no gear, no rope, no flashlight, and he just dies. And then the people had to go in and find him. I don't buy a word of that either. You know, I got the red in the background here, and I used a red pen to keep all my notes, and I can't read them. Like, it's like you put it over here, it disappears. Over here, the ink comes back. It's like I'm a fucking spy, and I'm not a spy. What else did I want to say about this? Oh, yeah, that's right. The Berserker, the band. For anybody who knows who the Berserker is or was, I don't even know if they're around anymore. They open up their second record with what Dr. B. Gröss says at the start of this. So I thought that was really fun because the Berserker's second record, Dissimulate, is fucking awesome. What else did I want to say? Horrible music. The score for this is just atrocious. I pointed it out in the video I did for Faces of Death 2. When the guy's getting electrocuted, they have this stupid circus music playing. And it does have this sort of carnival vibe to the music. Like, it just doesn't fit. It's like they didn't know like what to do with the score, but somebody told them they had to have a score. This movie couldn't be scoreless. And they're like, oh, well, we got this carnival music. And they're like, yeah, fuck it. Who cares? Like, no. Just like at the opening of this with that swirling drone, the electronic side of the score was really good. Like when they're showing the shots of the two old ladies who are for some reason sharing the same thing, the same slab in the morgue, where they got the one, like they got head to toe on one on top of the other. I thought that was kind of disrespectful, but at least that drone, that swelling sort of like ambient sort of terror that it was creating felt honest and real. The fucking carnival aspect, like again, reference out to the electrocution scene. The music is like just about the worst for that. What else did I want to say about this? I also didn't love the opening credits. How they try to like pound it in, like they show the shot of like the surgery on the heart again right before it flatlines, and then it just freezes, and there's this clank of piano, like dong, and then it starts up again. And then it'll freeze and it'll show another shot, title card of somebody who had something to do with the production. Like, we're all supposed to be sitting in the audience like, whoa, fuck, I can't handle this. The movie just started. This is too jarring for me. And now maybe in 1978, maybe this was too jarring. But by the time 1990 or so rolled around, when I got my hands on this, I mean, I was impressed, but I wasn't that impressed. They had fucking bear attacks in this, but I discussed that in the second one, so I'm not going to touch it. What else did I want to say about this? Yes, my God, the monkey killing. That scene where they've got the cute little monkey in the table and they're hitting it over the head. And then the chick tries to eat the brains and she's grossed out and everybody's laughing. And I'm like, this has to be fake. Because on one hand, initially these people seem horrified when they're like, they go up and they're like, and the guy's like, just do it. And they hit the monkey with like their little hammer thing that they got. And then they're like, they recoil in terror, like, oh, I can't do this. And then when they try to eat the little thing's brains after it's dead, they're all gagging and they're laughing about it. And something about that just feels so completely disingenuous. It's funny too, because on one hand, it's very disconcerting. But then on the flip side of that coin, it's so completely disingenuous that I just don't think it's real. And then there goes all of my concern once I put together that I just don't buy this. It's like the people laughing at each other, gagging on eating the thing's brains. I'm like, that was disturbing, but now it's just like eye-rollingly dumb. I mean, Dr. B. Gröss's glasses, they're not even straight at the start. He puts them on, he's talking to us. I don't know if I said this already. My train of thought's all over the place. They're fucking like this. And I'm like, come on, you're not a doctor. A doctor would know how to put his glasses on, yo. And I actually think that's it. Yes, I have touched on everything I wanted to say about this movie. Other than quickly, I will say that they were scraping the bottom of the atrocity barrel by going back to old footage of the Nazis and what they did during World War II. I thought that was sort of a little too on the nose, or maybe a little too heavy-handed. And I also don't like how they constantly used a lot of slaughterhouse footage to sort of pad the runtime or something. Like, you couldn't find more skidoo accidents, more car accidents, more shootings. Like, you couldn't go to a state like New York and find more shootings, especially throughout the 70s. If I'm not mistaken, New York throughout the 70s was just about the most violent place on earth, or at least I think that was the fact I was fed back when I was a kid. I know it was really bad in the 70s, but I think it was the most dangerous place on earth. If I'm not right about that, don't forget to correct me in the comments. But yeah, look, I'm done. This it's okay. I can understand how in 1978 the concept of something like this would be pretty mind-blowing. But I do have to say that the direct-to-video sequels served this niche market a lot better, because the majority of their audience would have been people like me, and we wouldn't have exactly been old enough to go to the theaters to see this. I wasn't even alive in 1978. So I do think releasing these on video, the subsequent ones that came out afterwards, releasing them on video was a really smart move, considering that the home video market was booming. And yeah, seeing this in theaters I think would have been kind of exciting. I saw a comment on the video I did for the second one where somebody said that they were lucky enough to see this in theaters at midnight. As much as I don't love this movie, I would have loved to have seen this in theaters. Yeah, that is it. So like always, thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 13 minutes while I discussed this train wreck of a movie that is the first Faces of Death from way back in 1978. Like always, if you like this review or you like this movie, don't forget to go out and do something nice for somebody. And once again, that's very simple. You could just hold the door or carry somebody's bags to their car. You don't have to do much. Give $2 to charity the next time you're at Walmart. Yeah, they use it as a tax write-off, but that's to be expected. Still, give $1 to charity or something. But most importantly, please don't forget that the world is so much more fun because you're in it. No matter what it is you're going through, I swear to Christ, it's going to get better, because every dog has its day, or some other saying like that. But the bottom line is, whatever it is, it's going to pass, and things will get better. Just don't let go. You're amazing. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. Putting a positive message at the end of a video about fucking Faces of Death.